Have you ever been in a situation where it felt like everything was spinning out of control? You could be facing financial troubles, health issues, relationship problems, or maybe even something as simple as a bad day at work. Whatever it is, you feel overwhelmed and like you just don't have the strength to keep going. Well, if you can relate to that, then I have good news for you. There is someone who has been through far worse than anything we could ever imagine and come out on top. And not only that, but he conquered it all with style and grace. And if we can learn how he did it, we might just be able to apply those same principles to our own lives and come out of our situation stronger than ever. So let's take a look at how Jesus calmed the storm and what we can learn from it. Have you ever been out on a boat in the middle of a raging storm? If you have, you know it can be a terrifying experience. The waves crashing around you, the wind whipping through the rigging, and the constant threat of danger lurking just beneath the surface. Well, imagine being in a boat with Jesus and his disciples on the Sea of Galilee when suddenly a fierce windstorm comes out of nowhere. That's exactly what happened, and the story is told in all four Gospels. So let's get started. As the crowds pressed in on Jesus along the shore, he knew it was time to cross to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So he told his disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him. As they were rowing across the lake, Jesus dismissed the crowd and went up on a mountain to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples were battling strong headwinds as they tried to make their way to the other side. But after a while, Jesus joined them in the boat, and all was well until suddenly a fierce windstorm swept across the lake. Waves began to swamp the boat, and the disciples were terrified that it was going to sink. Let's take a closer look at the disciples. These were a group of fishermen who had been with Jesus for several years. They had seen many miracles and heard countless teachings from him. Yet despite all this, they were still afraid. Why? Because they had never seen a storm like this before. It was one thing to be out on the Sea of Galilee in normal conditions, but it was quite another to be caught in the middle of a full-blown windstorm. As the waves crashed over the boat, they knew that if it capsized, they would drown. Fear can be a powerful emotion, and it can quickly take over your thoughts and actions. When the disciples realized the danger they were in, they panicked. They began to cry out to Jesus, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die?" They probably thought that Jesus was asleep and didn't know what was happening, or maybe they felt abandoned and alone in their struggle against the storm. Whatever the reason, their fear was palpable. Now let's look at Jesus. Throughout the story, Jesus is portrayed as being in control of the situation. Even when the disciples were panicking and crying out to him, he remained calm and collected. This is a valuable lesson for us to remember in our own lives. No matter what challenges we face, we must remain calm and in control of our emotions. Panic and fear will only make things worse. Instead, we should trust in God's plan and believe that he will help us through our difficulties. But what was the turning point in the story? When the disciples woke Jesus, it was a crucial moment. They had been calling out to him in fear and desperation, but their cries had gone unanswered. However, when they called him teacher, something changed. They reminded him of who they were and their relationship with him. And that made all the difference. Jesus awoke, rebuked the wind and the waves, and spoke the words, "Peace, be still." And just like that, the storm was over. This story teaches us that even in the midst of the worst storms, God is still in control. We may feel like we're drowning in our problems, but if we call out to Jesus and remind him of who we are and our relationship with him, he will help us. In fact, Jesus calmed the storm because he knew that his disciples were in danger. But he also knew that it was an opportunity to teach them a valuable lesson about faith. After the storm had passed, he asked them, "Why are you so afraid? How is it that you have no faith?" He wasn't scolding them, but gently pointing out their lack of trust in him. You see, Jesus knew that they were more afraid of the storm than they were of him. They were focused on the waves and the wind, not on the one who had the power to calm them. We can learn a lot from this story. For example, we should never doubt Jesus' power. No matter how big or small our problems seem, he has the ability to solve them. We just need to put our faith in him. We must also remember to stay calm in difficult situations. Panicking will only make things worse. And finally, we should never forget that Jesus loves us and wants to help us. He is always there for us, even when we can't see him. What's the biggest lesson you learned from this passage? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to share this video with your friends so they can learn about Jesus' amazing power too. The disciples were amazed by what they had just experienced. They couldn't believe that the storm had been so fierce and that Jesus had calmed it so easily. They had seen him perform miracles before, but this was something else entirely. The wind and waves obey him. The words spoken by the disciples echoed the sentiments of everyone who witnessed the miracle. Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him. They had seen firsthand the power of Jesus Christ, and they were in awe. The disciples had been with Jesus for 3 years, witnessing his miracles and teachings firsthand. They had seen him heal the sick, cast out demons, and feed the hungry. Yet nothing had prepared them for this. The awe they felt was not just because of the miracle itself, but because of what it revealed about Jesus. It showed them that he had complete control over the natural world, and that no one else could do what he did. You can imagine the whispers spreading like wildfire among the crowds who had gathered to hear about this amazing event. People were astounded by the news that Jesus had calmed the storm. The fame of his deeds spread far and wide, drawing people from all walks of life to hear more about him. This incident became a defining moment in the public's perception of Jesus, cementing his reputation as a miracle worker and a teacher with divine authority. This passage is a powerful reminder of the limitless power of Jesus Christ. It shows us that no challenge is too great for him to handle and that we can trust him completely. It also reveals the depth of Jesus' love for us. He doesn't just want us to believe in him, he wants us to experience his power firsthand. And when we do, we will be forever changed. But what about you? What lessons have you learned from this story? How has it impacted your faith and your relationship with Jesus? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And that's the story of how Jesus calmed the storm, showing his power over nature and his care for his disciples. When fear rises, remember, if Jesus is in your boat, you're never alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching BibleLens.